Okay, so Joshua is next, and he's talking about the role of the quantity surveyor in the green building process. Thanks, Joshua.
Thank you, Professor Crafford, for the introduction. As you just heard, my name is Joshua Young. Good afternoon all, panel guests. And today I'll be presenting my research paper entitled The Role of the Quantity Surveyor within the Green Building Process. Now, globally, the built environment is responsible for 1/3 of all carbon emissions. And with global warming now a very real concern that affects us all, a shift in focus towards green building is something that should be in the foremost of everyone's minds. So if we take a look at green building as a concept and all the benefits a green building has to offer as opposed to conventional building, it's difficult to argue with green building as a concept, and so we generally say it's accepted as the way forward. And due to this almost universal acceptance, the various green building departments throughout the world have implemented various systems and rating systems to, in essence, facilitate this movement towards green building, so standards are in place. And progress is being made in this regard. However, in comparison with other countries, Africa is somewhat falling behind in this with regards to green building, so something is missing with the green building progress in South Africa. And green building progress in South Africa is being limited predominantly by two main features. Firstly, the fact that green buildings are perceived to hold a much higher cost as opposed to a conventional building, and the fact that within construction the initial cost tends to override everything else. So the client is too focused on that initial cost rather than the potential financial benefits over the life cycle of the building. So what do we need to counteract these perceptions? The quantity surveyor's involvement on a green building project may need to change. Regardless of the role a QS plays on a green building project or the time in which he is implemented onto a project, he will be regarded as a cost specialist within the industry. So when cost becomes an issue on a project, the focus will be shifted towards a quantity surveyor. He will need to control the costs on a green building project to, in essence, bring down that initial cost as close as possible to that of a conventional building, as well as he'll need to show the benefits of a green building to the clients to show that it's not always about that initial cost. And hopefully after these aspects are implemented successfully, more green buildings will be built in South Africa. For the purpose of this paper, I looked to investigate the possibility of a quantity surveyor performing the role of a green building consultant. Now, to do this, I looked at two main objectives. Firstly, I looked to determine the knowledge base quantity surveyors hold regarding green building projects and the green surveying system, and the importance quantity surveyors place on the acquisition of this knowledge. Now, green building has been researched for a number of years, and there exists a number of various definitions of green building. However, there exists a common theme throughout most definitions, stating that green building refers to construction which reduces the impact on the environment during the construction of a building, as well as throughout the entire life cycle of that building. However, among my research, I came across a researcher who provided a slightly different interpretation of a green building, stating that a green building is a building which employs various green features and technologies and is certified by the relevant departments. Now, this highlights the impact various green building departments are playing in the industry, as they're now being used as a decisive measure in the definition of a green building. So if we look at the relevant department of the rating system in South Africa, the Green Star SA, it'll be difficult for a building within South Africa to in essence call itself a green building without the relevant Green Star rating to back itself up. So the Green Star SA was released by the Green Building Council of South Africa in 2008 and is predominantly based off the Green Star of Australia and provides a clear basis for comparison between green buildings and provides measures for the design, management and construction of the building. And for those of you who think Green Star is something that's only going to happen in the future and not really relevant at the moment, let's take a look at the progress the Green Star rating system has made over the past 2 years. In July 2013, the total number of certified buildings in South Africa was 36. This number increased to a total of 50 certified buildings in February 2014, and earlier this year, in May 2015, the Green Building Council of South Africa released an article stating they had reached their first major milestone of 100 certified buildings in South Africa. So it's clear to see that the number of certified buildings in South Africa is growing exponentially and will only increase in the future. And if one takes a look at some of the Green Star rated projects throughout South Africa at the moment, the number one silo project in the V&A waterfront in Cape Town, which actually achieved a 6-star design and as-built rating by the council, which is regarded as world leadership. And some of the major features include an innovative seawater cooling system, a high-performance double-glazed skin facade, as well as energy-efficient lighting, which makes use of motion occupancy sensors throughout the entire building. And I couldn't mention Green Star rated projects without mentioning the NMMU's own 2nd Avenue Business School, which was in fact the first 4-star public and education sector building to achieve a 4-star rating in South Africa and the first green star rated building of any type for Port Elizabeth. And some of the major features in this project include plants with extremely low irrigation requirement, occupancy sensor control lighting, as well as HVAC systems throughout the building, as well as the toilets and urinals being supplied almost exclusively by the rainwater tanks. Now, for my study, I made use of the quantitative method, predominantly making use of questionnaires, where I looked at the population of registered quantity surveyors who are registered with the SAC QSP, and I targeted my sample as the QSs listed on the ASAQS mailing list, which are available to me. Due to the limited available literature, I undertook an investigative pilot study interview with an experienced architect who has experience on a green star rated project. Together with this information obtained from the interview, together with the literature, I then developed a rough draft questionnaire, which I then tested with industry professionals as well as academics. I then, from the comments received from the pilot study, I then developed a final questionnaire, which was then uploaded onto the NMMU web survey database. And then I sent out roughly just over 900 personalized emails to the QSs mentioned on the ASAQS mailing list. To potentially compensate for the expected low response rate received, I then posted an additional link to the ASAQS website. Now, if you take a look at my questionnaire design, the first section related to demographics, which seek to obtain information such as age, experience. In section 2, I asked the respondents to rank their perception of their own knowledge regarding 6 broad green building categories. In section 3, I seek some further exploratory questions where I seek to determine various exposures and experiences the respondents had relating to green building aspects. And then in the 4th section, I made use of the Green Star Office Tool version 1, where I extracted various features and ranked them according to available points within the tool. I then asked the respondents to rank the same corresponding features on a scale of 1 to 7, and then I compared these rankings to each other. But I'll explain a little bit more about that later on. For the responses, I received a total of 64 responses, which was roughly 7% response rate. And if we take a look at the demographic information of the respondents, we see that 64% of the respondents hold either honours, master's, or doctorate degree. 78% of the respondents hold more than 15 years experience within the industry. 69% of the respondents hold the position of either director or managing director in their respective firms, as well as 72% of the respondents being operating predominantly in the Gauteng or the Western Cape province, which is relevant because this is where most of the green star rated projects are being built in South Africa. Now, in section 2, as I mentioned earlier, I asked the respondents to rank their own knowledge regarding 6 broad green building categories, namely the benefits of green building in general, materials, specifications and features, life cycle costing, as well as the green star rating system. Now, if we take a look at the results, it's difficult to see any major things to be notified in the results. However, when you consider the rating of 4 was listed as average, it's concerning that the respondents ranked their knowledge of the green star rating system as firmly below average. So I then followed this up in section 3, where I asked the respondents when they feel their next or their first involvement on a green star rated project will be, to which 70% of them said within the next 2 years. So they know it's relevant, they know it's happening. I then asked them whether or not they would feel confident advising a potential client wishing to construct a green star rated project, to which a highly concerning 58% of the respondents said no. I then asked the respondents if they are satisfied with their knowledge of the green star rated of green buildings, to which 56% said no. 30% said they were indifferent towards their knowledge, which means that only 14% of the respondents said they were in fact satisfied with their own knowledge regarding green building. I then asked them if they've attended any skills development courses targeted at supplementing this knowledge. To again, majority, 67% of the respondents said no. I then asked if they feel there are sufficient skills development courses targeted at green buildings available to quantity surveyors in South Africa, to which again the majority, 64% said no. Now, as I mentioned earlier in section 4, I then used the Green Star Office Tool version 1, where I extracted various features and asked them to rank their importance on a scale of 1 to 7. And if we take a closer look at the Office Tool version 1, there are 9 categories, and each of these categories are given features. Each of these features are allocated points. I then rank them according to these points, and each of these categories are given a weighting factor. This weighting factor is in essence to bring down the total points to a total of 100, so it's easy to be ranked. And the various weighting factors for these categories are as follows, with management at 9%, indoor environment quality 15, energy 25, transport 9%, water 14%, materials 13%, land use and ecology 7%, and emissions at 8%, which brings it to the total of 100. Now, as I mentioned, I extracted 28 features due to the questionnaire wanting to be of appropriate length. I then ranked them according to the points available within the tool. And the top 5 ranked features according to the points available in the tool as follows, as well as I listed there the bottom 4 ranked features. I then included these same features, these 28 features in the questionnaire. And if we take a look at the respondents' answers and the rankings thereof, we see that the rankings are almost completely uncorrelated, with greenhouse gas emissions being ranked number 1 in the tool, being ranked 11 places lower by the respondents in their questionnaire. Again, with commuting of mass transport being placed 5th, being placed 20 places lower by respondents. Thermal comfort being placed 20 places higher by respondents than listed in the tool, as well as refrigerant leaks being placed 20 places higher by respondents than the actual reflection within the tool. In the same way, if we look at the respondents' top 5 ranked features and their bottom 4 ranked features, and then if we bring in the corresponding rankings according to the Green Star Office Tool version 1 points, we see that again it's almost completely uncorrelated, with watercourse pollution being ranked 17 places lower within the tool, as it was in fact rated number 1 by the respondents. And the utilization of natural daylight, likewise 11 place gap, and as I mentioned earlier, thermal comfort at commuting of mass transport, with provision of cyclist facilities being placed lowest by respondents, being placed 17 places higher within the tool. So what does this mean? Why am I telling you this, and what impact will it have? As I mentioned earlier, cost control in green building projects is of vital importance. And often when a client wishes to build a Green Star rated project and budget starts becoming a concern, the Green Star rating, the goal of achieving the rating is the first thing to drop, because when money comes an issue, money overrides everything, as I mentioned earlier. So if a QS has a general knowledge of the Green Star Office Tool rating system, he will be able to focus on certain features that are required to achieve the desired rating. And he'll then be able to effectively allocate the cost towards these features to, in essence, achieve this rating at the lowest possible cost to the client, and in essence bring down that initial perception that the green building is in fact more expensive, or much more expensive than a conventional building. So at the end of the questionnaire, I also provided some additional space for any comments they may feel is relevant to the study. Some notable comments are as follows. I think my answers display a total lack of knowledge in this regard, but I do think it is an important subject, though not necessarily one the QS is trained for. While we try and convince clients to go green, their fixed budgets remain the prime goal, as I mentioned earlier, initial cost. There are not enough green building workshops, seminars available to quantity surveyors at affordable costs. So in summary, the quantity surveyors or the respondents feel their next involvement will be within the next 2 years. However, they lack confidence in their knowledge of green building, as well as their potential to advise clients wishing to construct a green building project. And in fact, from the results, it is evident they do in fact lack knowledge regarding the Green Star Office Tool version 1. And there has been a limited attempt made by the respondents to broaden their knowledge in this regard. However, this could be down to perceived limited available opportunities QSs feel they have to do so. Again, this research pointed to the limited available opportunities, which has led to the limited active attempt to broaden their knowledge, which has in turn ultimately led to the lack of knowledge regarding green building and the Green Star rating system. So recommendations, what can be done? The SAC QSP and ASA QS could encourage their members to take a more active approach in furthering knowledge regarding green building projects, and more often communicate to them possible ways in which they can do so. The Green Building Council of South Africa, they do offer a accreditation where a professional can be accredited, where they do cover the rating system. However, they could identify the QS as playing a pivotal role in the Green Star rating progress in South Africa, projects in South Africa, by implementing a specific cost control module targeted at quantity surveyors for the effective cost control on green building projects. Tertiary institutes could implement a green building specific module, maybe not straight away, perhaps an ongoing, maybe implement into the KES module, something along those lines. But yeah, and something in the future, the Green Star rating system could be touched on in this module. But ultimately, it comes down to the quantity surveyors. So they have to take it onto themselves to further their own knowledge in this regard. No one's going to force them to do so. And they have to sit down and say if they want to further their knowledge, the industry is changing, QS profession is changing, and if they just sit down and do nothing about it, they need to reevaluate their goals. Anyway, yeah, thank you very much. And this is Dr. Crafford.
Well done, Joshua.
Yeah.
No specific questions, really, but I think you've just touched on a couple of things or researchers, things that I suspected. I think you've actually confirmed in your research. The one was the affordability, because the course that's run by the GBCSA is incredibly expensive. And it is, to be quite frank, probably unaffordable. To send an entire PQS office on GBCSA training would be exorbitant. The GBCSA that's possibly something that we could look at, so thank you for that recommendation about some kind of joint thing with the GBCSA. I know they are often very keen to, if you approach them in the right manner, they are very keen to assist, because I know that from a UCT point of view, for the last 4 years, at considerable reduced expenditure, they actually, every single one of our honours year students, irrespective of your degree, does the GBCSA certificate course.
Because our email.
It's in holidays and it's voluntary, we don't make them do it, but it ends up every single year that every single one of the honours year students, whether they're property construction or quantity surveying, actually elect to go on the 1 week course with the GBCSA. There is an arrangement which I will share with Roy or Fanny or Perry that we have with them that you could probably, from an NMMU point of view, try and leverage the same kind of value.
Because I emailed them just to, out of interest sake, I kind of was thinking about doing it myself because it's available to students. I emailed them asking if there's any sort of discount students get or anything like that. They replied about just short of a month later saying, yes, there is. That's it. So I'm not sure. I'll check and get back to you. But just said, yeah, there is. It's discount, and that was it. So.
Yeah, they don't like to go into the details.
But anyway, yeah.
Because we did put them over a barrel. It helps that they are, sort of like.
Yeah, you can.
And the CEO's daughter did our property degree.
Okay.
Brian Wilkinson's daughter.
It's nice. It's always nice.
But I know that Brian would be open to sharing that with other universities. So if I could just let you follow you in on what the arrangement. We basically pay for the expenses.
Okay.
We don't negotiate on a fee per student or whatever.
Okay.
It's a separate kind of.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Very interesting. In your research, what did you find? Is there a lot of information already available on the internet for people to access?
Regarding the Green Star specific South Africa, well, as I got hold of the Office Tool version 1 myself, so I have access to the actual Excel document, which in fact rates buildings. So, and it does give explanations of the points and the features available. So I suppose if one sits down with that, it can get.
Really available?
Well, at the moment it's Office Tool version 1.1, and I get access to version 1. But apparently it's been minor changes, and I think the manual is also available, but it's like 170 pages, and I have skimmed through it. But yeah, it is. If you sit down, go on the Green Building Council website and just look at the available. You can read for a while if you want to. Thank you.
Mrs. Crafford? Benita?
I'm not very knowledgeable on the subject myself, but from a costing point of view, would it really affect the quantity surveyor in many ways, or is it more electrical, mechanical?
If you'd like to, you can go out. I think.
Just out of interest, at a recent presentation from Redefine in Johannesburg, they, according to them, from a developer's point of view, they add between 3 and 5% onto the budget for a 4-star building, between 12 and 15 for a 5-star, and 25% for a 6-star building.
On overall budget.
On overall budget. So whatever they just tell the QS, you just give me your normal, ignore the green building, what do you think it would be, and then they add for a 6-star. So for the number 1 Silo building, for example, it's 25% overall budget.
I included a question asking them how much more they feel a green star rated building. I didn't specify That's why I excluded it, because I should have been more specific in my questionnaire.
Star rating.
Exactly, I should have been more specific, but I just said a Green Star rated building, and they said between 1 and 5% more than a conventional building. All of them, 100%, yeah. Okay, yeah. So
But if you're going for a 6-star, it can be as much as 25%
Yeah.
more than average.
that's why I excluded. I should have been more specific. It was a error.
Must have been the supervisor.
That was before you got involved.
Thanks.
Sure, no, you can't.
I'm not allowed to.
Okay, Professor LaRue.
Yes, your comment about the excessive rates for attending these programs is very real, because I'm having an issue with the association at the moment, asking them why they charge such exorbitant fees to the ASACS members to attend a day program, when the presenter of the program is actually doing his marketing and promoting his company, and yet we are having to pay. So why doesn't the association, for the fees that the members pay each year, present 1 or 2 pre-admission CPD programs per annum? And my question ended up with, if not, why not? And they just don't answer.
No.
But if you read the information that is circulated by PA Edutech now on this black dot energy, it's pure marketing of the company. And the charge for the Eastern Cape or Port Elizabeth, which was cancelled, but I take it nobody wanted to subscribe to it, was 1,500 rand for the day.
That's why. Yeah.
So you are perfectly correct. So maybe you could suggest to the association that is a membership service, because the question exists, what do we receive apart from the closed user group? What do we receive for our annual subscription, which are not low by any means? And it would be an ideal marketing and promotional action on the part of the association. And students must attend free of charge. I cannot see why not. But you've covered a tremendous range as a preliminary presentation on this. We all know that you know a lot more than we do, or some of us do. Can't take everybody. I apologize. But thank you. Excellent.
Thank you.
From the KAS lecturer.
Okay, so just a comment on the Green Star course.
Okay.
So in 2012, I tried to set up a Green Star course at NMMU, before UCT.
Hey.
Actually, Donna and I pretty much put together what's going to deal with that. She's the education part of the Green, and she wasn't education at that stage. She was general dog's word. But the architecture department wouldn't come to the party in terms of covering costs. So maybe the difference is UCT gets 55,000 rand per student, and we get 27,000 rand per student, and they could afford it, but we can't. But yes, it was going to be much cheaper.
Okay.
So we were looking at about 300 rand per student.
Would that be in KES or a different module? Would that be implemented in KES or a different module?
No, it'd be, so you would get a Green Star accredited professionals.
Separate, okay.
Because that's the only way they will do it.
Okay.
I tried to do it as part of the course.
Yeah.
So, because they were going to look at me doing courses here anyway, they said I would do it as part of the course. Because we cover everything anyway as part of the course. So, in that respect, you're already getting the education. It's just that you don't get the certificate.
Okay.
And that's the difference at UCT. They do it slightly different.
Yeah.
The overall course.
You see, the place to negotiate with them is there's 55,000 rand per student.
My question.
Covers venue hire and catering and all sorts of stuff. If you use a UCT venue, there's no venue hire. So we bring
No, we did all that. No.
Students don't need to be fed tea and
The
coffee,
big
and
difference
you need
was
to cut that out.
they're in Cape Town, and to get here, they wanted to charge us
But
money.
then you must say, we'll pay for your ticket.
No, we did. No, still wanted to charge us.
Okay, I have to cut you guys short here. Afterwards,
Anyway, let's go back to the actual research.
Okay.
But also, I think you can kind of answer part of my other comment, which was that in light of your research, is to possibly ask the SAC QSP to force their members to do a percentage of their CPD in green buildings because of how important it has become. In your research, did you do any analysis, or was there any analysis of, say, some of those case studies in terms of the impact that QS has had on the projects?
I think I didn't include it in my recommendations, but in my conference paper, I think my last recommendation was a further study with a case study of a QS on a project and what impact accredited QS could have on a project. I did say that in my paper, I think.
And then the other thing was, in your analysis, was there a difference in terms of did you, in essence, analyze whether there was a difference in knowledge between an understanding of green building features as opposed to green star rated
building projects?
In other words, GBs versus rated aspects of GBs?
No, I didn't look at the features side,
Because I think that is an area where we can learn a lot. Because actually, if you start to look at the literature in terms of the cost uplift on projects, and you look at it from an international perspective, where you've got green star buildings, in other words, where there's a registration process that has to occur and an audited process has to occur, then the uplift in cost is much higher. When you look at green buildings in terms of GBFIs,
it doesn't require that certification, so
the level increase is actually non-existent. Actually, it's negligible. They've actually talked about it being less. So it's interesting just to see the impact of that audited process. However, clients prefer to have that audit process.
That's why we learned it. Sorry, I answered.
Okay, I think Sean's itching to
Okay,
to jump in.
thank you very much.
Okay.